Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Welcome back to the F4L headquarters podcast. I am your host with the most, the F4L icon himself, Sean Jazz Stevens. Welcome back today. There is no video portion of today because there's really nothing worth, videoing about. However, we are here because why? Well, thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. I want to thank my crowd here. They're a lively audience. But anywho, folks, I'm not doing a live portion of this with video today because it's not necessary. It has been a little bit since I've been doing a lot of these lately. Still getting used to this new software, which is kind of cool. Just kind of taking it one thing at a time. So I'm hoping to do more. Of course, those guys who have followed a lot of what I've been doing are probably aware of a lot of the things I'm currently doing. For those people who've lived under a rock, maybe haven't heard the news. Currently, as we speak, I am both rebuilding all of the icons of the F4L for the YouTube wrestling show that my son and I started years ago that is still up and running. In addition to that, we announced last Friday officially, even though it's been in the works for a little while, but we announced Friday officially that I am teaming up with former guests on the show here. And, a friend of the show and one of the talented people of the world, Richard M. Bourne, to bring his book series to life and get it from the page to the screen by getting it to the next television streamer, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, or whatever. Whoever's smart enough to see talent in something great and original. So we've been working on that a lot lately, which I'm pretty proud of. We're still getting things situated as far as casting, locations, and so forth. These are the production things that go along with any kind of a project of this nature. Of course, writing of converting the book to a screenplay is also something. And last night I went to go send Richard what I had. I already written the first season. And as I went to go send that to him, it just kind of crashed. My system didn't send it, so I have been trying to fix that all day. He does have some of the copies now, and there's more to come, so that's kind of cool. I do have my water next to me, so you'll have me taking sips here and there. It is also getting late, so there's that. So what are we here for? What is today's show? What's special about today that makes me want to do a show today? Well, today is not today, but tomorrow, being the 23rd of March, is a day that I used to call Sean Patrick's Day, as kind of a rib. And basically what that means, it's my birthday tomorrow, the 23rd of March. And, some people, when it comes to that, everyone looks at their birthdays differently. I think it definitely depends on what age you're actually turning. There's definitely those milestone birthdays that, usually are highlighted and everyone looks forward to those. And then you get into those birthdays that are just another number adding in. And, for myself, I guess I kind of lost focus and lost kind of the importance of what my birthday is and why it's so important. It's just another day to me. I'm still alive. I'm proud of that. I still have a lot of things to do. And in all honesty, my birthday, it's nice to be wished a happy birthday or whatever here and there. But let's face it, these days, everyone goes on social media and they wish you a happy birthday because social media tells them and reminds them that it is your birthday. And that's too bad, really. because, in all honesty, that shouldn't be the case. I definitely think that people should hear everything that, I definitely think that people, I prefer the old school ways of doing things. Sorry. And I'm not one of those people who yell, one of those old men who yells at the kids on this front lawn or anything like that. But I'm a little old-fashioned in the kind of things like birthdays and celebrations. And I feel like it's always personal when you can just pick up the phone and call someone and wish them a happy birthday, and communication. I think this is a dying art, this communication thing. Just in general, not just birthdays, but nowadays everything is done virtual. Back in the day, back when I was a kid. Let's be real here. I'm talking about the 80s. But if you take the 80s even to now, the current days of the millennials or whatever we're calling this generation. From 80s to now, look how much has changed in the world and society and how we do things, how we look at things, how we address things, what's on TV, what's in films. Look at everything that's changed in the landscapes since the 1980s to now. And what I thought I would do is just talk to you a little bit about, let's look at, 2022 for me and look at, what was the ups, the downs, and whatnot. What goes into a birthday? Because I think everyone loves to live in the moment of their birthday. But ultimately, okay, you're another year older. And then tomorrow you'll be back doing the same, and that day and the day after that you'll be back doing the same things you were doing prior to your birthday. Which is why, at least for me, and I know there's some others that also feel like this, that your birthday is just another day. I had no problems in my past before settling down and having a wife and kids. Just working on my birthday. I had no problem doing that. What else am I going to do? I don't drink. I don't drug. It doesn't mean I can't have a good time or go do something, fun. But on the same sense, I can do that and be responsible doing so. But if I can make money and do something like, something productive, I'd much rather do that than, have a party or whatever. So that's that. So that's kind of what we're doing today. We're going to look back at 2022 with some highlights and some ups and downs. Some things you guys know about, sometimes you don't. But I think what's important to realize is, man, what a comeback! How I always have the whole glass is half full mentality. And I know there are a lot of people out there who have that the glass is half empty. In all honesty, I think a lot of people, as long as there's a glass, they should be happy. And I gotta say, my family, my wife and I are completely different in that sense. I'm an optimist, she is a pessimist. But in the same sense, I'm also someone we're both realistic. We've both seen the realities of things. But one thing that I have that I've always kind of known throughout my journey in life, and this is something that always helps me in the hardest of times for myself, and that's, it doesn't matter how hard things get or how bad things might seem on the surface. Because in the end, the awesome thing is that, as bad as it can be right now, tomorrow is a completely new day. And there's always the good that goes along with the bad. And this is something that I've seen in my time. Now, I've talked before on my show, I've had a very horrific life. But I don't spend a lot of time in the past because that doesn't get me anywhere. I look at the future. I look at how is this going to help me, motivate me, and help others achieve the same I have. That's ultimately what it is. I take every single downfall, every single setback as a life lesson. So let's look at 2022, beginning of 2000, from my birthday on. So bear with me here as I take a sip of my drink again. Have some water again, folks. And this is sparkling water for those people who are wondering. I enjoy me some sparkling water. So, and why am I not drinking coffee right now? Well, if I'm being honest, also, even though, generally speaking, I'm up pretty much late at night and whatnot, I do want to get some sleep tonight, regardless. I have a busy day tomorrow, and I don't know what exactly my wife and kids have planned. I know they have something up their sleeve. They generally do. And, in all honesty, I feel like it's for them that I do a lot of this as far as the birthday stuff because, if it's just me alone, then I could care less about my birthday. But they make it, something, and I'm proud of them. And if, by, doing something with them and whatever, spending time and whatever can help them in some way, then I'll do that. And, and one thing is for sure, I never, ever, some of my favorite moments are hanging out with just my wife and my kids. All honesty, I know that sounds, cliche or kind of sounds corny, but I'll tell you, playing some board games with my family, having some food and having some, coffee, tea, or whatever, having a good time, that to me is more of a celebration or more fun than going out and partying, going to a club, or, any of those things. So there's that. So we're going to if we're going to be talking about 2022, we have to talk about how it began and where I was last year for my birthday. And this goes to show you how just continuing to work and continuing to go forward and continuing to work for a goal and never giving up on each other, and how love in the end will always conquer over all of the hard times in life. As long as you have someone stable with you who will back you up, go to war with you, and support you, then you're good to go. So, for those people who may not know, a while back, my family and I was supposed to have a house that we had, got with a government loan. Not a loan, but it was a grant that we were using to get a house. And, through various different, whatever the case may be, this house was, supposedly a haunted house. So, quote unquote, by a lot of these local television ghost hunter shows, and even international and national ghost hunter type shows, and YouTubers. Anybody who classifies themselves as a quote ghost hunter has gone to this house and said, "Oh, these creepy things. This is haunted." And because of that, they kind of scared the previous owners who wanted to sell the house cheap money. And, being someone who, would love to have this kind of house for the money that it was, basically it was a 10-bedroom house. It was a multi-room house. It was a mansion is what I got for the same price as like a ranch house current day. And that was unheard of. 10 bedrooms along with all kinds of other knickknacks and all kinds of other anemones. A party room, an art room, you name it, they had it. And, it was a mansion is what it was. And it was the same price as like a regular house that I would get. So I said, well, if you're going to get something, go big or go home. and the grant would have taken care of a lot of the, taxes or whatever, and we'd be kind of all set for a little while. But unfortunately, as we waited, there was some things, for those people who ever bought in a house, whenever there's agreement for buying a house, there's usually some things that need to be done before the person can, actually live in the house. And the fact of the matter is, this house was old, legitimately, and because it was so old, a lot of repairs had to be done, and upgrades was also ordered in order to live in this house. I mean, we're talking about a house that, the only light they had, for the most part, was like gas-powered lights on the wall. They didn't even have electricity like that. And seeing how I have this podcast and the kids like their video games or music or whatever, obviously we needed electricity in our house. So this is one of the things they had to fix. And I guess what happened was all of these ghost hunter shows kind of a thing kind of scared people off from wanting to do the work on fixing up the house, which I've never heard of. And this went on a couple times that they did this. Like, a couple times, crews would go in to go clean, and then they'd stop because, one of the local neighbors or one of these ghost hunter shows will call them and, freak them out a little bit. And when they did that, nobody wanted to do the work on it. And so I didn't find out until, maybe December and January that the house wasn't anywhere close to being lived in or whatever, because no one's done any of the repairs. At that point, they got some people to repairs, and we had until July, which was the original purchase of the home, to actually live in the house, until that was what they had to get everything done, and they never did. So, unfortunately, the pro and the con is that, we get the grant back that we used to get this house, but in the same sense, we don't have the house because no one wanted to do the work on it. So you might be asking, if that took place about a year before that, well, where were you then? In all honesty, with, when we're talking about 2020, a lot of things changed in general. We were supposed to moved to one place, and the landlord backed out at the last minute. And then we had this house, and we knew we had to be patient, so we were in a hotel for a little while, my wife and I. And the kids went to go stay with our friend who isn't too far away from us, and she went to school with my wife, and they know each other very well. The kids grew up; her kids and our kids grew up together, so it's a good thing. But in the same sense, it's sad because not having your kids with you kind of bums you out, at least me, on a regular basis. But in the same sense, we didn't want our kids staying in this, one room until everything got done, because we didn't expect it to be that long either. But as things go on, we were still there in 2022. And again, the home was purchased, a year before that, in the summer of 2001. So, things happen. But what it did is slowed down the process. So we were, in the hotel for a while, and hotel living is tough financially because you got to make sure you have, that week or that month or whatever you're going to do is money up front. But the good thing is, once it's paid, you're paid. And you don't have to worry about, a lot of other things because, it's a hotel, so they take care of a lot of those things. But what I was putting out to the wife was that, we could be paying. It got to be the point where the hotel was the same price as a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment. Or even a two-bedroom apartment in some cases. So that's when we needed more help, and my wife, who is a veteran, made the decision finally, after me kind of prodding her. She finally reached out to whoever she needed to, and when we really couldn't stay at the hotel anymore, it was just too financially burdening on both of us. We weren't moving around anywhere. We couldn't really go anywhere. the sad part about it is I had to miss a lot of various different activities or whatever else due to the fact that I lived in a hotel at the moment. And it's not the most convenient thing in the world. Being someone who is from the pro wrestling world, I'm used to kind of going from, hotels to hotels and stuff like that. But it kind of gets tough after a while. It's financially burdening and it's a pain in the neck. You have to deal with other people, other guests in the hotel who are either regulars or non-regulars. There's various noises and who knows what going on. And then you got to pick and choose your battles in these kinds of places on what you act on and what you have to do to make sure you and your family are safe. That's ultimately what it comes down to. And then also the other thing is I learned a lot about the hotel world and how things operate. See, a lot of people don't understand this, but early days of wrestling, a lot of guys would travel via car, and they go to a lot of these various hotels for the night or whatever. And there's all kinds of stories that come from those, different things. And it's one thing to do that, for a night here and there, but to live in a hotel is not something that I would recommend a lot of people to do, unless you absolutely had to. Can you do it? Yes. Would I recommend it? I'm going to tell you, regardless of what you think you're saving or what the rate is, in the long run, when you look at it, you're going to be spending more at a hotel than you will at an apartment or whatever. So my advice is, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you have to do such a thing, I think it's important to kind of, you got to batten down. You got to do what you got to do for the moment, right? And a lot of people are wondering, well, why did you go to a hotel and why did, whatever, while the place was being worked on? Well, my wife has sleep apnea. So she has a machine, so she needs to have electricity and everything else. So, that's kind of how we kind of had to go with that. Because when it comes to my family, I'm going to make sure that they're taken care of. And, it was tough for my wife, and me, but more so for her because, she's a very proud woman, and having to go to and from a hotel to work back and forth is a nightmare. It can be a pain in the neck. And I can understand that, where she's coming from on that. I would work multiple places, and then, in the meantime, while we're waiting for the house that may or may not come to fruition, we have to put down the hotel for a place, and it's not a viable thing, really, which is kind of sad. But it was what it was, and we're, whatever. So that was in 2022. We were still in this hotel, and that's when we, looked at everything. I said, honey, we need to do something. We can't do this any longer because this is financially killing us. And I also knew that things would start getting better, and they did. My wife was, working for one place for a long period of time, and it wasn't really going anywhere. I feel like they were gaslighting her a lot of the time, and, she's a very hard worker, and she's a dedicated worker. I mean, she's a mom first and foremost, and being a mom takes a lot of, time and energy, and is the hardest job ever. One of the hardest jobs ever. Fortunately, she has me too, so we kind of double things on those. But, she, would work in these jobs, and they did a number on her self-esteem because she never thought she was worthy of doing something more, and I always support my wife. And I think I mentioned on another show here before is that my wife finally, recognized the fact that she's a veteran. She was in the Army. She graduated basic training, which most people couldn't even dream of doing that alone. And then she was stationed for a little while. Yeah, she didn't go over the seas, and she didn't go to war, but she was by virtue a United States soldier. She was in the military. She was in the Army. She was honorably discharged, after a while. And, that's how that was. But because she never went to war, she didn't see herself as a veteran or someone who should be getting help. Because she said that should be for people who fight in wars, which I respect her for that. We weren't really getting a lot of any other help from anywhere else either, as far as, what do we do in the meantime? Because while we're waiting for the grant to come back to get another house, and we're in this hotel, any money that we do have coming in has to go out to make sure we're in this hotel at that point. And then my wife would, we would get in contact with a program called Operation Stand Down, which helps veterans, and they have been a huge help for my wife, reinforcing the fact that she is absolutely a veteran. And it takes people who work for the veterans to tell a veteran that they're a veteran sometimes. So she's kind of dealing with that, but I'm very happy to say that, despite all that, in August, we moved into our new place, and we have an apartment. We have a home again for the time being. We are working on getting another house once we get the grant back and whatever those case may be. But in the meantime, we have a stable environment that we don't have to worry about every week making sure that it's all set. That was in August. We moved in to this place, which is nice for the time being. And again, we're working towards getting our house and all the other things, but it's nice to have that kind of a feeling, to know that you have an apartment versus a hotel. It's kind of nicer, I suppose. And things just continue, right? Things get better, things get hard. In 2022, I both made new friends and, parted ways with some others. I separated myself from negative situations and whatnot. For a blink, I did go back to work for a wrestling company for a little while on creative sides, but I decided ultimately it wasn't really worth my time and investment because they never paid me. As odd as that may sound, imagine putting in work and giving ideas, but not getting paid to do so. And that was kind of annoying to me. And then there's always a song and dance, so that kind of put a damper on things. But you know what? I'm very happy that with what I had at the moment, and I'm constantly working on something. Even when I had this podcast. I have the YouTube wrestling show. Between the two things, I stay pretty busy. If people actually knew how much work goes into the wrestling show, you guys are probably like, well, why do you do that? Well, because of two things. One is fans like it. Ultimately, that's the biggest thing. Fans are liking it, and, I get these emails that are just tug at the heartstrings telling us what the show means to so many people. On Instagram Live recently, I read some questions and answering, and I even answered a letter from a follow-up letter from someone whose son was battling cancer, and he was inspired by our superstars on our show because he knows that they are based on real people, and our superstars inspired him to keep fighting, and he, we got a follow-up email from his mom, and he's in remission, which is awesome. He's been in remission quite some time, and now he's going back and forth to the same clinic where they get treatment. They're in Canada. They're going back to the same treatment facility with the other kids like him, and they'll watch our shows because it brings them joy and happiness and escape, and they all have their own heroes and their own people that they like. Well, the ones they don't like. But, that's what our show does to so many people that a lot of people don't get to hear and see. And that makes me proud that, I always believe that if you had people to showcase, introduce these people to the real world, that would open up, both get their names out there, but also maybe it'll inspire other people to do the same thing. Dream masters, people who go after their dreams and accomplish them. Not just say they're going to do something, but they do it. And that's the biggest important thing. Well, so we've been in here now for a little while, and then I've been working for Monster Mania, which I'm very proud of. I love being part of the family. I've been friends with the Hagans and all of the Monster Mania staff. They're like family to me anyway. So it made sense that I would work and help them out when they needed it. And since 2002, I've been on staff with Monster Mania officially. I'm very proud of that, and I love being part of the team. Technically it was 2001 I became part of the team, but you know what I mean. But I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that, I'm helping other people have a good time and keeping everyone safe and, providing that support when it's needed. It's kind of cool. And another thing that's kind of cool as far as, you watch people grow, right? And in a year, I've seen, those people I've watched over the years grow. Both my own kids and all of these other amazing people around the world who are doing huge things. And I have to admit, sometimes I feel a sense of pride in knowing that I was right in believing in people who I knew were going to do big things. Sometimes I question, is my judgment still keen? Do I still have the ability to see talent when no one else can? Do I still know the killer instincts? Do I still have that? And I think over the last year, it's been, proven time and time again, absolutely, I still have that ability to see that. Case in point, the Menya boys, Henry and Hyro Menya, they've been on this podcast before. They're on our YouTube wrestling show. They're two young men from San Antonio, Texas, and they're studying various forms of combat sports. And they're two of the most dedicated and hardworking young men you'll ever meet. And in 2022, they had an amazing year, both on our show and outside of our ring. You see people like them, or the Adele boys, Anthony and Mason and Ty. They've been, winning in setting records, shattering records in our show and out of our shows. They're, beast of sports, of athletes, because I don't think there's a sport that they can't play nor don't have some type of award in. That goes with dedication, hard work, commitment, and I believe also you have to have a good foundation. I think the Adele boys have that, the Menya boys have that, and other people as well in the last year. I mean, Jaden Brooks, he was one of my last guests I had prior to the last thing we had. But Jaden Brooks is a young man who we had on the show back when I first started this kind of initiative. And he's a person who is an entrepreneur. He's one of the most smartest people you'll ever talk to. And he has a wit, and that's rare to see. In all honesty, that's something I had back in the day. That's what I had growing up. I have the mindset to plan things and follow through with them. A lot of people who, when they're growing up, they don't have that kind of drive to focus on something of that nature, especially young people. And I'm not I'm not trying to label everyone into one bread basket, but I mean, a lot of kids, they think that hard work is going to school, coming home, and maybe playing a video game, maybe doing a couple chores. But, these young men and all of these people who we have on our show, they're dedicated to whatever it is that they do. And it's not just, sports people. I mean, granted, we have some of the best athletes, pure athletes on the planet on our show. everyone from football stars. By the way, a quick happy birthday to our Russian friend Yevgeny Verkovitz, number 13 himself. He had his birthday a couple days ago, so we kind of share the same month. That's kind of cool. And Verkovitz had his birthday, so happy birthday to him as well officially. But, in general, all these amazing athletes around the world, but we also have musicians like Jack and Tim, the lucky ones, YouTubers like Minty, and, also, Minty and OK Thank You, and guys like that. Brock and Boston we just added recently. And then, we have the actors out there in the world, like the Jackson R. Scotts, the Michael Fishmans, the various, Lucas Royalty just joined our roster recently. I mean, he's a young man out in California who's, trying to make a difference in the world, literally trying to make a difference in the world by raising awareness and running charities for various things, trying to, raise money for various great causes. That's a future world leader right there. And he's an actor, model, or whatever, but he's going to do big things because he has that, that mindset, and he gets it done. Poor kids had to endure bullying at school in the past, and he's overcome that to become, someone who can advocate for others in the same situation. And, I was happy to add him to our roster. He's someone I've watched grow, and, all of these young men grow and become even bigger and stronger. JoJo the bodybuilder, for example. JoJo the bodybuilder has been on this show a couple times, and he's been on our YouTube show. I got to tell you, he's always in the gym. This kid is the most committed and dedicated young man you'll ever meet. And this is kind of what a lot of people lack in life, just that commitment, that drive. Don't just say you're going to do something, go out there and do it. And because JoJo has not only gone on to win various different competitions with bodybuilding or whatever, he proves that hard work does pay off. And that's why he continues to do it. And we're very proud of him and everyone else on our show. This year, we're going to be adding some newer people to our roster. And, excuse me, one second. Notice I didn't mention Walker Campbell when I mentioned musicians and actors, because Walker Campbell, his new nickname is the Total Package, because I don't know if there's anything Walker Campbell can't do. He's an all-around great young man. He's a talented singer, talented actor. He's a YouTuber, model, a sports athlete. What else is there to do? So Walker Campbell, we're happy to have on our roster as well. And he's, of course, grown as well. And we're proud of everyone who's been, part of the thing in 2020. And, in all honesty, Walker Campbell joined the roster this year, as well did Philip Ricardo Jr., the legendary Philip Ricardo Jr., who is a natural bodybuilding champion around the world, a former Mr. Olympia. He's one of the most humble and most realistic people on the planet. I've had him on the show before. We're going to bring him back here again. One of the most knowledgeable people on fitness and one of the most realistic people. And, he joined our roster over the summer, and he's done big things in that time. And, of course, that small world thing that Philip Ricardo Jr. is actually the mentor of JoJo the bodybuilder, which is why they're a team, for those people who ever wondered. And there's a lot of growth there throughout the other things. Walker Campbell joined shortly after that. Also joined this year was Grayson the Super Duck Russell. Grayson Russell is a young man out of Georgia, and he is another dedicated individual in wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And when you talk about commitment and drive and, constantly trying to work and also being willing to, get some feedback to make himself better and also stand out and not be the same athlete, this young man has, done some tremendous things, and he's had some setbacks and some injuries, which comes along with the field. I get it all too well. But, all in all, he's doing big things, and I'm proud of everyone who has joined the roster in 2022. And yeah, most of them are coming back in 2023 as well because they're fan favorites. And because, all honesty, they're part of the show. They're part of the commitment. And all honesty, they're people that people need to know more about because they're going to do big things in life. And I'm just happy to introduce them to the world. The same thing goes for half a dozen other people that we have on our roster, much like Riley Simmons, the gymnast out of the United Kingdom. Tremendous young man, very dedicated in gymnastics, but also a positive attitude, has overcome bullying and everything else, and he's the embodiment of what the F4L is. And, one of these days, we'll have to get him on here. Noah Tyndall, Noah the Nightmare, who we tried to have on this podcast before, and it did not work out well. This time, we're going to plan on bringing him back again, and he will be here this time because we have new software, whatever. He may even be doing something. He may be part of our watch-along event we're going to be doing on April 4th. That's something to watch for on this podcast, and it'll be a video portion, too. So for the first time ever on this podcast, we've done the watch-alongs before. But what we're going to do, actually we did them starting last year, actually. But what we're going to do is, the next one, we're going to have it done via Zoom. And what we're basically going to be doing is we're going to actually have the video portion along with that. So people can actually see their reactions while they're on the show. That should add to some fun and some great moments there, I would imagine, too. And everyone, of course, who's on our roster is welcome to join that. People are always working hard, and I'm proud of everyone, regardless. Angela Russell, who is Grayson Russell's mom, she's one of the hardest working moms out there. Speaking of moms, Walker Campbell's mom, another great person in life, and half a dozen other people who are just so committed to supporting the people around them. The Adele boys, the Menya boys, JoJo, the bodybuilder. All these people have a great foundation supporting them. And that is huge for success. It is. So there's that. So, this show's not going to be too long today, folks. But I did want to do this show to reflect upon my birthday and what has changed, the ups and downs. And there's been a lot of good and bad in 2022. Started out kind of like March does. Go in like a lion, out like a lamb. Well, we're still going. Now it's 2023. We have a nice place now. We're living here, and I've been doing busy things here. I've been doing writing nonstop anyway, because I just do that naturally. Now I'm working with Richard M. Bourne to bring his series to Netflix, so to life, and I'm proud to be in part of that. And all the amazing people I've already met already, they're going to be part of this. The casting process, getting back into the swing of things of that, and for me, like I said on the podcast the other night, was whenever you see all the work you put in at the long run, when you work on one of these projects, when you see your product done on the screen, there's no better feeling for that, because you see the sense of pride that everyone took to put that together. And I'm very much looking forward to that again. And I'm also happy to bring my skills and my knowledge to get Richard's books onto the TV, because they deserve to be. And again, some of the most talented people are going to be working on this as well. We have already casted some very talented people, and I'm very proud of working with every single one of them. And we still have some more to do, granted, but hey, it's a work in progress. We'll get there. Looking to start filming in June the test pilot for the show is what we're going to be filming first. So we'll have to give you guys more information about that on the future show on that one. So I guess in the long run, 2022 was full of ups and downs, but in the end, we no longer have to worry about the hotel thing. And we're working on more goals and accomplishments. My kids are doing great. They're done growing, knock on wood. But they're doing great in their own right. They're both working hard. I'm very proud of both of my kids. My wife, she actually she got a promotion working at the job she was at, and actually just starting probably tomorrow maybe, or Friday, she's going to be starting her new job as a security guard, getting out of retail, which is something she's wanted to do for a long time. And I'm very proud of my wife. She puts a lot of work in. She gets to deal with a lot of things. And, she has to put up with my corniness at times. But, in the long run, I very much love all of my family. And I love all the F4L. And that's why I continue going. The last thing I wanted to say is, as far as people wishing me happy birthdays and social media and things like that, it is nice, to get the happy birthday message, but then you wonder how many people actually, care enough, or how many people will actually do so. Because I can tell you this, whenever I see it's someone's birthday, regardless how well I know them, I'll always wish them a happy birthday. And may all their dreams come true. Because I hope they do, regardless what it is. I'm constantly working hard, and I believe I have many more things I got to do. So I got plenty more birthdays to worry about anything else. But for the most part, I'm very proud of that. And, tomorrow I'm going to be taking a sabbatical from social media because, I'm going to I want to go back to old school where, if you actually know someone, you actually care enough, you'll reach out and call them. And that's a gauntlet thrown down. If people actually know enough to call me for my birthday, that would be nice. I will accept my phone calls, text messages even, but I am not going to be going on to social media tomorrow to see someone say happy birthday or, put a little post up if they do. And then people have to remember something on these social media things. Whether someone wishes you a happy birthday or not doesn't give you the reason to expect everyone else to do it. And I know this to be true. So, realistically, just because I wish everyone a happy birthday doesn't mean everyone's going to do it in return. And I'm realistic to know that. I got to tell you this. The funny part about it is every year on my birthday, there's always the comic book store that I grew up with in Quincy, which is one of my favorite places, New England Comics. They're still there. Same people work there since I was like 12 when I was going in there. And they're like family friends of mine as well. Well, they send me a birthday card every year on my birthday. And sometimes that's the only birthday card I get. But, the fact that New England Comics still remembers my birthday, and I've been going there since I was 12, and I'll still get a birthday card no matter where I go from them, is something enduring and stuff like that. But, before I let you guys go, it wouldn't be the same without, telling you guys a little bit of a funny birthday memory. It's kind of bittersweet in a way, but those people who don't know, I lost my mom in 2010. And, of course, when it comes to birthdays, there's no one who cares more about our birthdays than our moms, for the most part. And they will go over the moon for those things. My mother, when I got older, I was living on my own, obviously. That didn't stop my mom from reminding me of my birthday. So it was kind of customary on my birthday every year at 3 a.m. when I was born that my phone would ring at 3 a.m. And, regardless, granted, a lot of people are like, well, you should be sleeping or whatever. But my mom knew that most of the time I was up, even if I wasn't up, she was going to call anyway at 3 o'clock every morning on my birthday. Because, she wanted to be the first one to wish me a happy birthday. And that's when my official birthday was. That was when it would become. So, sometimes when we get so used to something, as corny as it sounds, and as annoying as it may be, it was something that I knew like clockwork. 3 o'clock's going to roll on. My mom's going to call me at 3 a.m., do the, thank you, Mom, okay, Mom, and, let her go to bed. But I lost my mom in 2010, and since 2010, I've not had someone call me at 3 a.m. to wish me a happy birthday. And I'm not complaining, but it's one of those things that's kind of like a life lesson. I think it's important for people to realize that in our lifetime, we never know how much time we have with the people we love and care about. And when you have these memories of, like my mom and the birthday thing, when you keep telling these stories of them, you keep their memories alive and you keep them in your heart, and they never really go away. But I think it's important to realize that you need to be, if there's things you need to say to people, I think it's important to say them. Let them know how you feel about them, because you never know what tomorrow brings. As annoying as it would be to get a phone call at 3 a.m. from your mom, imagine how it feels when you don't get those phone calls ever again. And sometimes it's hard to think about, my mom and, the things that I'm doing in my life. I often wonder, how my mom would react to the things that I'm doing. And knowing my mother, she was been described as what they would call a hot ticket, as she was very spontaneous, outgoing, for the moment, adventurous, she was also she would go against the system kind of a thing. She was a rebel. But, her biggest thing was fun. She liked to have fun. She liked to have a good time. She liked to be with her family. And, when I look at things like Monster Mania, I wonder, what would my mom do at one of these events? For one thing, I wouldn't be able to go to the event without my mom trying to sneak on to go with me, because my mom would want to go with me to these things, because that's what she did. Not just because, she wanted to make sure I got there okay, but because she wanted to see the sights or whatever else herself, because that's what she'd do. But, I wonder how, she would enjoy these kinds of things. And, what kind of makes me sad is my kids never really got to know my mom. And at one point, I wonder, what would it be like for my mom to meet, how they get along, my mother and the kids, and my wife. And then I wonder, my mother would probably get them in trouble, knowing my mother. Because that's kind of what she would do. She was the person who does, no one was going to tell her what she could and she couldn't do. And if she thought she was right, she was right. No one was going to tell her otherwise. So that being said, I often wonder what would happen if my mother would get my kids into trouble, or if she'd help them get out of it. Any trouble she got them into, she would probably get them out of it too, because she was good at that. So, but those are the things you remember, and those are the things you miss, and you wonder what would be. I'm about to embark upon making a movie. Imagine, I wonder what would my mom think being there in front of this audience of seeing this thing on Netflix and knowing that her son took part in it. I wonder how would she feel about me making her a wrestler in a YouTube wrestling show and having her wrestle people. My mom was a interesting character in general in real life. I don't think there is a video game that could be built upon her because she was an original. But she, definitely is someone we'll miss. And it's around my birthday I will often think about her, especially around as it gets closer to 3 a.m., which is not even close to that right now, folks. But I am going to be wrapping up shortly. I'm deciding I'm going to be going on for about an hour tonight. I just want to reflect upon 2022. I think it was, all in honesty, it was a great year. I mean, had some ups and downs, like I said, but I have no regrets because, as I said before, you can go so far down before you got to go back up again. And that is what my lifetime has seen. As hard and as dark as things can be at the moment, there's always that hope that something better is going to happen tomorrow. And I am living proof that that is true. It's kind of the laws of nature. You can only go so far down before you got to go up again. So anyone out there who's going through a hard time right now, anyone who's having a crisis or having financial burdens, or you think, it's tough and whatever else, just know that it'll get better. It has to get better. Keep working at your goals and dreams and keep killing it. Keep getting at it. Keep doing what you need to do to get by. Keep working your goals and dreams and don't make excuses. Don't live in the past. Whatever happened yesterday is already done. Learn from the mistakes that we make to make tomorrow a better decision. And all will be fine. Everyone, I am the F4L icon, Sean Jazz Stevens. This is the F4L Headquarters Podcast. It is officially my birthday. It is 12/27 right now. And to everyone out there, may all your dreams come true. And I will see you later. Peace, everybody.